So guys, today in our knowledge sharing session, we'll discuss about confirmation bias. This is a very important topic and most of us don't even know. We are a victim of confirmation bias of ourselves as well as others. So first thing we'll try to understand is what is confirmation bias, right? We all know what is bias, right? What is bias? Bias is basically when you don't have in-depth knowledge of something, but just based on superficial things, you form an opinion about something and you stick to that opinion. That is called bias. Yeah, got it? Now, what is confirmation bias? Confirmation bias is you confirm that bias again and again and again. How do you confirm that bias? You confirm that bias by reading articles that confirms your bias, that supports your beliefs and views. You see things that supports your beliefs. You are always with people who supports your belief, and again you only want to see things that supports what the bias that you have. That's why it is called confirmation bias. And when you get opinions or articles or something which is opposing to your particular bias, you ignore it. And you can ignore it to such an extent, like suppose somebody says this is very bad, and nobody likes it, and then you say that no, everybody likes it. Why? Because 3 people like it, and based on those 3 people you say everybody. Have you seen 3 people, 5 people saying something and you say everybody says this? Because that's the way you form biases. 5 or 3 or 20 or 100 is not a big sample space, right? So that is not the basis of forming opinions about something. So confirmation bias, these are the 2 parts. First is the bias and second is confirming it again and again. If you don't confirm your bias, you might not be biased after a while, but we always keep on confirming our bias. So the second point is, why does it happen? Why do we have confirmation bias? It happens because of identification with things. We identify with people, we identify with communities, and we identify with things, right? These are the 3 cases in general where we identify. So like identification is like, this is my country. So you identify with your country. Or this is my religion, this is my caste, this is my gender, this is my sexual orientation, this is my state, this is my language, he is my father, my family, my mother, my son, my daughter, my friend. So whenever you identify with something, identification primarily comes from the space of ego, and if you are too much identified, then it is bloated ego. So whenever you identify too much with something, the first thing that the brain does is it will make you defend it. So that's the process. Whenever you are identifying with some person, some community or something, you will tend to defend it. And when you tend to defend it, what happens? Confirmation bias happens, because now you try to prove that what I believe, what I identify with is correct. That's the way confirmation bias happens. So whenever you see people defending something, so defending something can also happen when you identify too much, as in you are too attached to yourself also. So that is the first process of confirmation bias. You identify too much with yourself, me, which most people do, which most of us think that it is perfectly fine, because most of us identify with ourselves. But if you don't identify too much with yourself, then you will be less biased about yourself. And if you don't identify with people, communities and things, you will be less biased towards other people and other things, right? Now, the question is, why is it a problem? Everybody identifies with something, right? And many communities will take it as a pride to identify with a particular community. Many ideologies are propagated that be proud of this, be proud of this. The moment you are proud of something, you are defensive, and confirmation bias has to happen, even if it is for a good cause. If you identify too much with anything, you will have confirmation bias. There is no other way. You will defend it. That's the way. Identification always leads to being defensive about it. Now the question is, why is confirmation bias a problem? First of all, there are 2 levels of this problem. One is personal problem and one is a societal problem. The personal problem, why is confirmation bias a problem? it leads you to not becoming wise in life. You'll behave like an idiot whenever the topic you identify too much with comes up. And you must have seen people defending the thing again and again, and you can tell that they are so biased about that particular thing because they are so identified with. So your wisdom goes for a toss, and therefore your decision making goes for a toss because you cannot see the entire truth. How will you see the entire truth if you are biased about one thing? So all your decision making, be it in relationships, be it as a student, as a job goer, as a businessman, anything that you do in life, is your success depends upon the decisions that you make, right? And your decisions cannot be correct if you don't have the whole truth, and you don't want to see the whole truth. That's why you are biased, right? This is the personal thing. That's the first thing, and you must have seen many people being like that, right? The second thing is societal. What is the societal issue because of confirmation bias? Societal issue is huge. People are killed. Why do riots happen? Be it religious riots or riots because of identities like caste riots, riots based on countries, riots based on states, languages. There are different kinds of riots that happen. People are killed, murdered, humiliated. So many things happen, all because of confirmation bias, because you're not open to knowing the other side. You just have a bias and you just want to prove it by hook or by crook. So societal level and personal level, both the level, it is a big loss. And you must have seen that today almost the entire world is polarized. They'll talk about take a stand. Why don't you take a stand? So taking a stand does not mean having confirmation bias about something. Taking a stand means you look at both the sides and you say, okay, this is good in this is bad in this is good in this is bad in this. Knowing that, then I take a stand. But here what we are told, if you have to choose this, then you always have to criticize that. That's the way it works, always. And then you have confirmation bias. That's why most of the movements start well, but after a point there is too much resistance, because the movement now becomes, you are wrong, I am right. That's what it becomes. Most of the movements you see in the world, because confirmation bias is promoted, whether somebody is right or wrong. Now the fourth point is, how do you diagnose that somebody has confirmation bias? How will you know whether the person has confirmation bias or not? There are two aspects to that. One is your confirmation bias, others' confirmation bias. Because whenever we talk about confirmation bias, people think that, others, I know that person has confirmation bias, that person has confirmation. No, we all have, right? We need to diagnose, where do we have confirmation bias? What are the areas where are we biased too much about our ideologies to ourselves or to other people or to communities or to things? So we need to understand that, and the diagnosis is very simple. If you can only see good things in something and no bad things, you have confirmation bias. If you are only seeking to know more good things, then you are biased. If you only see bad thing in something, no good thing at all, and you are only reading about articles about that and only trying to find how to prove that it is bad, then you have confirmation bias. You don't have the ability to see both the sides. That is confirmation bias. Others, how do you check about others? Same thing. If they are not ready to see both the sides, then you have confirmation bias. What is the solution of this? There is something which I call method of opposites without judgment. Method of opposites is, if you blindly love something and there is no way you can tolerate anybody talking bad about that person, you find out 3 bad things of that person or that community or whatever that thing is, and think about those 3 things. There is nothing in the world that does not have both the sides, right? We all know that. So if you are blindly in love, like mostly we are blindly in love with our parents, right? Our children, and we just don't want to see anything negative. But we should have the ability, they are also human beings, we should have the ability to see the negatives of them as well, without judging them. You love them, but you can see the negatives. Just because you see the negatives, that does not mean you judge them. You can see the whole truth and still you be compassionate towards people. Now the second aspect is, if you hate something or somebody a lot, completely hate, do you have the ability to see 3 good things in that person or that community or that thing? Think about it, write it. I'm telling you, it seems very easy, but it is very, very difficult. Try, think of the person you hate the most, the community you hate the most, the person you love the most, community you love the most, and then try to find the opposite without judging. Don't judge. So that is the way you can go beyond confirmation bias, be more wise, be able to see the whole truth. And if you do that in today's world, I think you will be among the 5% or 10% of the people who would have less confirmation bias, who are aware about this, because most of the people enjoy and proud of their confirmation bias. The best solution that I find is, instead of trying to prove that what I believe is true, seek the truth. You know what I mean? So if even since childhood till now you have a certain belief which is very strong in you, and somebody can logically and sensibly prove that it is wrong, you should be open to that instead of trying to defend all the time. This also comes from our education system, where we are divided into 2 groups and say you will support this and you have to not support this. And then we are forced to be biased, and we are forced to confirm our bias by finding data and facts that proves our point only. So that is the way we have been trained, and the entire world trains you like that. Therefore, the entire world, be it east or west, everybody is polarized. It is because of our education system. We take pride in that, proving that we are right and you are wrong. Instead of that, if we stop proving what we believe is true, if we try to seek the truth, find what is the truth, be open to changing, then there cannot be no confirmation bias. And when confirmation bias decreases, I have seen for myself also, I had very strong confirmation bias in many things. Even now I do, I try to get rid of it. But when confirmation bias decreases, you are at ease, and generally you have better relationships, you have better career, everything improves, your peace of mind improves, and you are able to see things that you could never see before. So that is a big benefit that anybody can have. So over to you. Any questions you have in this? Any practical questions which you think I might be able to help?
Terrorism is also confirmation bias.
Yeah, so depends upon what kind of terrorism. If it is related to religion, the confirmation bias is based on the religion. So only reading your religious things and being with those kind of people who proves that my religion is superior to all other religions. If terrorism is because of certain community, like this is the community we have been suppressed for a long time, and therefore we'll fight and we'll kill. So then confirmation bias happens, that you are only seeing the suppression that has been done to your community. You are not seeing what you are doing to the community as a whole. You should also be able to see that. Seeing both the sides is very important. Only seeing your side, always leads to these kind of things. Most of the problems societal level are because of confirmation bias. Most of the problems, it's because of basically identification with something and trying to defend it by hook or by crook. It has almost become a rule that this is the community you belong to. How are you not supporting this community, even if the other community is right in that particular situation? So now this becomes very weird. You cannot discuss anything genuinely with a person who has a confirmation bias. Politics runs on confirmation bias. That's why most of the people do not respect politics, because most of the politicians try to evoke confirmation bias in you. They'll present facts from this side, present facts from this side. So best thing is to listen to both the sides always. Only then you'll be able to get the entire picture, instead of only like many people, suppose they support the government, so they'll only see channels that support the government. Most the people who hate the government, they'll only see channels that talk about hating the government. So that is confirmation bias. You want more confirmation for your bias, which is so stupid. It is unbelievable, but that's what most of the people are doing.
So we have talked why confirmation bias is a problem. Are there any benefits of having a confirmation bias also?
Yeah, so the benefit of confirmation bias is like, if you are into politics and you try to develop a confirmation bias based on a particular community which is in majority or even in minority. So that helps you get a lot of votes. That community identifies with you. So there are many people who are leaders in their community and who are hated by every other community. So they are not people who are compassionate people. They are not people who will be remembered as empathetic people, but they will be remembered by their community as empathetic people. So that's the benefit it has, but over the long run it does not have any benefit as such. But yes, practically you can gain benefit. You can you can induce that feeling of, you know, my community, we are same, we are the same kind, and based on that you try to prove, and polarization can happen. When polarization happens, that part which is polarized towards you, that gives you a sense of power, that, you know, so many people are supporting me. And if you are neutral, it becomes very difficult, because very few people are neutral. Very few people can see both the sides. But trust me, those people who can see both the sides, they are considered wiser. And in very difficult situation, people come to them to ask for solutions, because they know they will not judge. They'll see both the sides. So it's a great quality. If eventually everybody wants to be a leader in their field, in their job, in their business, anything. So that's one of the greatest qualities, to be able to see both the sides of anybody you work with. You know, the bad side, good side. It should not be that you only see the bad side of the person and try to prove that he is bad, or only see the good side and try to prove that person is good. But yes, confirmation bias, obviously, it works in many areas. That's why people have that. It satisfies your ego. The first thing is that it satisfies your ego whenever you confirm your bias. Yeah, I got this data. It proves I am superior. My community is superior. You know, this thing is superior.
So, like, it gives you certain benefits also, but on the longer run, it is negative to have.
It is negative, and the biggest issue is, if you seek wisdom in life, wisdom or peace, then it is completely negative. But there are many practical benefits which is more like manipulative. It is not the, if you look at the holistic picture, it is not a good thing, right? It has a negative impact. But if you see as a tunnel vision only one part, I want to get this, and then you use politics and manipulation, then obviously you can do that. But your wisdom decreases, your intelligence decreases because of confirmation bias. Think about it, no? There are two sides, you only want to look at one side, one side, one side. It is not a wise thing to do. But it helps, because most of the people are not wise. Most of the people are egotistical people. So you try to, you know, incite their ego and then gain benefit from it. So obviously you can do that. You can manipulate and gain benefits from it, of course. If that's the goal. But if the goal is wisdom, peace of mind, you know, doing the right thing, then it is not a good thing. Anything else? ठीक है. So I hope this helped you, and try to be aware of this. It's not about other people. Try to be aware first of your confirmation bias. When you are aware of your confirmation bias, then you will be able to see other people's confirmation bias also, and you will not judge them as well, because you know you also have that. We all have, right? And the more we are aware of that, less we are in the trap of the ill effects of confirmation bias. Okay? So that's it. Thank you so much.